Gaia is a state-of-the-art space-based observatory launched by ESA in, I believe it was 2013. It's also remarkably easy to crochet. Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing quite an interesting crafty slash spacey topic. I decided that as a Christmas present for my supervisor, I would crochet a mini Gaia for him to hang up in his office. So with that being said, I guess I'll just get started with introducing the pattern that I made up. Now I am filming this at night with my lighting from, my room lighting, so I do apologise if the lighting is a little bit terrible, but I will make some really nice high definition pictures, take some high definition pictures of Gaia later on so you can see it a little bit clearer. The construction was actually fairly simple. I designed this pattern myself. And I probably will tweak it a little bit, make it a little bit nicer, and then pop it on Ravelry in case you might also want to crochet a little Gaia. Yeah, so it was actually fairly simple to make. I do make a couple choices which I go back on later in the video, namely the fact that I did try and use I guess it's called tapestry crochet. It's the crochet equivalent of stranded colourwork for the windows, where instead of actually appliquing on some windows like I am doing right now and for the disc, I actually switch colours while I'm working it in the round. However, it didn't look quite so nice, so I've changed it here so it looks a little bit better. Within the pattern, I will also change these little gold bits from a half double crochet down to a single crochet, so there is a bit more spacing between them. But given that I had already made the disc with the two coloured bits, I didn't want to have those peek out, so I just made these with half double crochets. However, it will look much better with single crochets, I promise. Yeah, so to get started, all I used were 5 different types of yarns, namely the James C. Brett's Flutterby Chunky. I usually say Butterfly Chunky, it's Flutterby Chunky, in the colour Pewter, which is the grey, in the colour Black, which is the black, in the colour White, which is also surprisingly the white, and then there is also this gold colour, which I cannot remember because I had to use an alternative yarn because I didn't have it on me, but I believe it might be called Ginger Fox, although I can't remember. I will put it in the description. Alongside the golden yarn, I did use a basically like a viscose sparkly thread here, so you can see the little sparkles. I believe this was the Jomil brand viscose thread, but I can't remember for certain, and it's not very available online, if I remember correctly. I found this in my local yarn shop. So as an alternative, I probably would recommend, there is a metallic thread made by Drops, which is in gold, which that one's quite nice. But you can also, I believe you can find on certain yarn websites the same type of chenille yarn that I've used, but that also incorporates glitter. I think the Hobie Honey Bunny glitter is one of them, I think at least. But yeah, I also, if you want to save a lot of pain when it comes to with using multiple threads and at the same time, I would recommend using a glittery yarn. Given that this is meant to mimic a metallic spacecraft, I would recommend it adds a little bit of shine and sparkle to it, which is always great. So I think that concludes all of the yarn. James C. Brett's Flutterby Chunky is a chunky yarn. It recommends a 6mm crochet hook, if I remember correctly. I don't have any of the yarn bands on me, but I found much nicer and neater stitches when I sized down to a 5mm crochet hook, and I do recommend that you do the same. Although when it comes to little soft toys like this, gauge doesn't really matter. I mean, if you want to use DK yarn and get a smaller Gaia, then that's completely up to you, of course. So you don't have to use the exact same yarns, just use whatever you have locally or whatever you have in your stash. But yeah, I'll just get on to the crocheting. Most of it will just be me crocheting with the camera pointing at my hands, plus a little voiceover. So yeah, that's all. And now it's voiceover me taking over. So we're going to first start off by actually just crocheting a basic circle, and this will serve as the top of Gaia. From then on, I think we'll then continue on down to the base and then create the little loop afterwards that you can use to then hang up Gaia. I have no clue as to why my videos were such low quality. I am so sorry about that, but now that I've given Gaia off to my supervisor, I can't like bring it back and like use it as a prop anymore, so we've just got what we've got right now, and I'm really sorry about that. I'm gonna guess if it were anything, it's the fact that my room was really dark at the time. We had been going through a storm as I was filming that, so that was probably most definitely why it was so dark and gloomy. But yes, I have learnt my lesson. It will not happen again, and I will get some better lights. And speaking of which, one of the lights in my ceiling is actually going out as we speak, so I think, yeah, we do need to get some better lights in here. So when it comes to crocheting the circle, there really isn't that much to it. Yeah, I started off with a magic loop and made 6 single crochets in there, and then I just follow the regular pattern for a circle. One important thing that might be quite useful to you, or might not depending on your technique, is that when I do my increases for each round, I make sure to shift them away from the increases from the previous round, and that ensures that because we're not stacking up increases, we're not actually creating a hexagon, so we're not really defining any corners in this. We're trying to create a smooth circle, so if you shift them around at every row and basically alternate where they are, you can create a really nice sort of smooth circle. So next up was just creating the tube. It was really simple to actually make the tube in one fell swoop. Just creating this really nice defined angle between the top of Gaia and then the round tube. The way that I did this was I just used some back post single crochets into every stitch on the top of Gaia, and yeah, this just creates a really nice right angle. From then on, I just basically crocheted in the round, making no increases whatsoever, just to create a straight tube. And then later on, I will just make the applique windows, which is very similar to how you make hexagons and like squares and stuff. It's just without a magic circle. Instead, you actually work into a chain of stitches to elongate one of the sides. Now, I did do some colour work here, as you can probably see that I'm bringing in the black yarn, but I really don't recommend that you do it this way. It did not look as nice as the applique windows. So from now on, I'm going to be talking as though I'm showing you how to do it the correct way, and that was what I did in the first place, which it, yeah, very clearly wasn't. But it doesn't matter now, we've learnt, and we learn from our mistakes. Okay, I've basically finished off the top of Gaia. I'm surprised as to how quickly this worked. I'm pretty impressed. So what I'm going to do is cut off this part over here, pull the thread. I know that's not really the professional way to weave in, like finish the ends, but never mind, you won't be able to see it. So there we go, that's the main bit. I will do some embellishment real quick right now, mainly because once we start making the disc part at the bottom, we won't be able to actually attach anything from the inside, and it's way easier to do it before it's been stuffed and finished. So let's go ahead and do that now. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that Gaia can be hangable on top of like a shelf or whatever hook kind of thing you have. So what I'm going to do is just crochet a couple chains and attach it at the top, which is super easy. You just do, actually leave a slightly long tail just in case. Slip knot, and then I'll probably chain 20 first to see how much that is. So it's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Oh, so when I'm chaining up real fast, my camera doesn't try and buffer, but now... never mind. So that's 20. If I fold that together, that makes quite a big loop. That should be fine. One more for good measure. And then if we just line that up, we can put a slip stitch back into the first chain. Slip, slip, chain 1 and let's cut that yarn. Oh, I really need to sharpen these scissors. There we go. So that's 2 there. Oh, my back is killing me from all this standing up. So from the center, what I'm just going to do is put my crochet hook into the magic ring, pick up that crochet chain, and then just pull it through. There we go. Up. Oh, did too much. Pull it back. There we go. And then let's flip it inside out and have a look. There we go. So what we'll need to do here is somehow sort of fix these 2 ends in so that the loop doesn't actually come out. So let's just, there's one. I don't know, slip that all, like, make it really difficult to escape, and then do that on the other side with the other tail. Slip that, make a very obscure weird slip stitch, do that twice, flip it back over, pull it, there we go, that's perfect. And now you can hang up Gaia. Yippee! In terms of the rest of the embellishments, I've had a look at some of the artist impressions of Gaia. So the main thing that I want to do is add in a little gold trim around the top here, and this all just the back post single crochets I did defined quite a nice sharp corner, but we want it to be just a little bit sharper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some gold. So I've been using the Flutterby Chunky because that's what I had, but quite a while ago when I was buying these yarns, I think almost a year ago, I very stupidly did not check all the labels. Or maybe I bought these at a different time, I don't know. But this one is much thinner. It is Stylecraft Squeeze Me, and it is quite a nice chenille yarn. This is more of the sort of velvety type chenilles, which I do quite like personally, but I do prefer the more regular fluffy ones as well. But yeah, it's lovely. And then just to add a little bit of glitz and glam, I've got this really nice sort of gold viscose thread, which has such an insane drape because of the viscose. It's like, it's really slippery, but it is absolutely beautiful, so you can see here. And so that should very slightly thicken up this yarn a little bit as well. But yeah, I'll be more careful next time when purchasing yarn. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to make some slip stitches into just these that little ridge you see here. And that's just going to sort of define that a bit more. Start from the back. So pull that up and then slip. Pull that one up and then slip. And I'm just going to continue on and do this for the entirety of the round. Okay, almost done. Final one, don't pull the tail, there we go. So that's that done. Oh, my back is really killing me. Before we slip stitch into the original row, because this is a finishing, what I want to do is something a little bit more sophisticated. So I will just cut these nice and quick, pull out this yarn, and then I will just quickly find a tapestry needle. Can't believe this. I lost my least favourite tapestry needle. What a shame. Anyways, I found another one, quite a nice one. And we're just going to thread both yarns through here. Might be a bit difficult because this one is quite a thin one. There we go. And so you see here we've got the first slip stitch over here. And so what we're going to do is just create a false stitch. So we just go into it from the back one way, pull that through, and then tighten it just a tiny bit, and go back into here, but this time we push it all the way inside because then we could just finish the ends nice and neatly. Come on, there we go. So here you can, I just pull it a little bit, there we go, you can barely see, you can't really tell which one it was, so it's quite nice. Good for finishing techniques. Right, I'll deal with that later. Oh, where is the end gone? But what I want to do is, in some renditions of Gaia, I can see underneath these openings, there is a little white line across, and so what I want to do is recreate that basically. So I'm just going to go in with a slip knot, quite a loose one, and then I'm just going to probably, here, I'm just going to make a series of slip stitches across the work. So there we go. Oops. Okay, so because I stupidly decided to start in the middle, I do want this to be extra neat once again, so I'm just going to cut a long tail. And do the same technique that I did earlier. So up and round, and in. Should be, there we go, perfect. Nice and squidgy. Okay, so I think that's the main body of Gaia done and dusted. I think it looks quite nice. Very glamorous. Yeah, so the ends don't actually need weaving in on the inside because you're going to stuff it, and it's not really going to be roughed around that much, thrown around, I hope not, at least. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. Before we stuff it, we of course need to make the disc, which is an integral part of Gaia, and I cannot forget that. Sorry that the lighting is so bad right now. We're currently in the middle of what appears to be a storm, but it's not exactly the most stormiest of storms I've experienced, although it is quite loud outside as well, so very sorry about that. So far I've completed not all of the disc. It's a little bit conical, which I'm a little bit concerned about, but I don't think it will affect it much. But I've completed roughly half the disc, I'd say, but enough so that I can actually completely enclose it within the just cover up the base basically. Oh, my words are not wording today either. So I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll do this in one go, where with the next row of single crochets I will just attach both this one and the disc together and then just build up from there. So apart from that, I'm basically done with that bit. So I'll only have a couple more rows of plain grey, and then I'll transition over to mixing grey with the gold. So for the stuffing, here's a quilt that never actually came to fruition. I didn't really do a good job and I had no clue what I was doing. So for this, the polyester wadding here is, it's not been used, it's completely new for the most part, so I might as well try and use that up. So what I'll do is I'll stuff Gaia up to the brim with just loads of polyfill, and then as I'm attaching the base I'll stuff it up some more and then just have it nice and very firm. So I made basically a circle in the pewter colour up to there, and then what I did after that, I think, is that I single crocheted once again, continuing on, but instead of just continuing on and then stitching the top, so the tube part of Gaia, onto it afterwards, I sort of single crocheted into both the end of the tube and then also into the disc as well. So that would actually just join them both together, and so you don't need to worry about sewing it in. Personally, it doesn't really matter which way around you want to do it. If you want to sew it afterwards and then stuff it later on, you're more than welcome to do so. I just thought this would save a bit of time and hassle later on, and it kind of does, but also it doesn't really matter. Okay, here we are so far with Gaia all stuffed, much denser and less squishy as before, but nice and that's what we want, nice and packed basically, which is pretty good. I'm very happy. So just continuing on the disc part, I think I'll probably have to do multiples of these rows. I won't get it to the correct to scale wingspan because that's just going to take too long of a time. and might not be as well structured, let's say. It probably won't be able to hold itself up as well. So yeah, I'm just going to continue on for maybe like 4 or 5 more rows, and then we'll get to the gold, and then we will be done very soon. So the final part is basically just to continue on with increases in those in that disc part, basically just to build up the correct width and size, basically build it up as much as possible before Gaia becomes a little bit too floppy, because with crochet, unlike with, you know, metal and steel, it tends to flop a little bit when it's too heavy. And I did find that my one did do that just a slight amount, and I did have to add a bit of structure in with some cardboard, but you know, it all worked out in the end. Yeah, so once I got to the final part of that was when I decided to add on some little gold panels, which is what you see in Gaia as well. For this, basically, I just made some single crochet squares. So I made a magic ring, and then I did a single crochet, and then I think I did, let me reflect back on what I did. I think I just made 2 chains as the corner stitch. So I would just do a single crochet, 2 chains, single crochet, 2 chains, single crochet, and then continue on until you had 4 corners, which was very simple, admittedly. So I completely lied. I thought this would take quite a while. It only took me about an hour or so. So all 12 panels have been stitched on. They are quite big compared to the disc, but I think they look a fair bit better than the original design that I had going on. So here is the front. We've got the windows, the little stripes, and the little disc. It looks a little bit softer and nicer in person, I have to admit. I hope. So yeah, it's all basically done now. I'm pretty proud of it. It is a little bit heavy on the bottom, so I might add a bit of a structural piece underneath it. So what that would probably be is just crocheting another circle, probably out of black, or another colour. No, probably out of black. But to speed things up a little bit, because it's not there for the shape and aesthetics, I'll make that out of double crochet, which will look completely fine, but it will just work up a little bit quicker. I'll do that tomorrow off camera, but yeah, that's just something a little extra that I can do later on. But overall, I am pretty pleased with the final result. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah, that concludes the video. It might be a while before I make another video. I've got a couple things going on, an interview, which is going to be quite exciting, and some Christmas stuff, and a bit of travelling around to my partner's parents' place. So I might be a bit too busy this month, but I will try and maybe make some videos or some blog posts. I don't know, but I'll try. Anyways, with that being said, I'll see you in the next video.